Welcome again to United Taste of America. This is your host, Rick K. Jones, and we're excited today to bring you the stories of our 25th state in the Union. That state is Arkansas. This state and this episode marks the halfway point on our series on American culinary excellence and the history of American cuisine. Arkansas was yet another one of those states that we acquired in the Louisiana Purchase, 1803. It was really full of native peoples. Lots and lots of different Indian tribes had settled in Arkansas. A lot of them, unfortunately, were pushed out, Trail of Tears, into the Oklahoma territory under President Andy Jackson. Arkansas was originally explored by the French, and they gave it the name Arkansas. It was a territory from 1819 to 1836 and became our 25th state in 1836. It became really a major plantation state, especially in the southern part of Arkansas, where they grew a lot of cotton, some rice on big plantations. But then Arkansas followed a lot of the southern states and became part of the Confederate States of America, leaving the Union in 1861. And after the Civil War, there was a lot of poverty in Arkansas, a whole lot of poverty. And things really shifted where it became really a state of small farms, small towns, small communities, a lot of homesteads. Homesteads, remember, if you settled certain parts of land, you got the land for free. The Homestead Exemption Act during the Civil War that kind of created the westward expansion, and there was a lot of that happened that way. Arkansas played a pretty major role in the Civil Rights Movement. Brown versus the Board of Education was a famous Supreme Court case, and right after that we had what was known as the Little Rock Nine. 9 black students integrated Little Rock Public Schools in 1957 and really started the process of integration across the southern states. Arkansas had a governor by the name of William Jefferson Clinton. He was the youngest governor ever elected in Arkansas, served 2 years, and then got beat and for re-election, but ran again 2 years later and won and served for 10 years before he became our 42nd president in 1988. When we went to Little Rock to film, we visited the Clinton Library, which is interesting. If you remember Clinton's campaign, it was a bridge to the future. He talked about, he was the first baby boomer president. And so instead of looking back, let's look to the future. And his library is on a river in Arkansas, in Little Rock, and it's shaped like a bridge. And so it is the bridge to the future, which is kind of an interesting deal. But probably the most famous and most influential Arkansan of all time is a guy by the name of Sam Walton. Sam Walton opened a little bitty store in Bentonville, Arkansas, that became this gigantic company we know today as Walmart. And it really changed Arkansas forever and clearly changed our country forever in terms of how we buy goods today. Sam Walton, really interesting character. He had failed. He had been a store owner of Ben Franklin stores and went bankrupt, went out of business, and then regrouped and founded Walmart. And what a great success story that is. There are lots of great foods in Arkansas. Like so many southern states or rural or mountain states, these were foods that were basically inexpensive, cheap food that could fill up a lot of people. You have a homestead and you got a bunch of children. You need to feed them lots of plentiful foods, and Arkansas is kind of famous for that. And part of it is the foods of what we call small gardens. They're famous for things like tomatoes, cucumbers, purple whole peas, watermelons, muscadines, okra. Speaking of cucumbers, they invented the fried dill pickle. Fried pickles were invented in Arkansas. They have a lot of mountain foods. Again, the state is really two states. The northern part of the state, Ozark Mountains, very mountainous, hilly, small farms. The southern part, very much like the Delta, like Mississippi or western Tennessee, those kinds of areas. Well, in the mountains, a lot of cornbread, a lot of pinto beans, biscuits with sawmill gravy, and then a lot of southern foods like chicken fried steak, pork barbecue, deviled eggs, and fried okra. This is a state with a lot of chicken farms, a whole lot of chicken farms. In fact, one of the largest chicken processing companies in America is based in Arkansas, Tyson Foods. And Tyson Chicken for years was the largest, and I think still is the largest processor of chickens in the country. And so because they have a lot of chickens, they eat a lot of chicken, a lot of barbecue chicken, a lot of fried chicken, a lot of baked chicken, just a lot of chicken dishes, a lot of chicken and dumplings, those types of things. They also, again, remember, they still grow some rice in the southern part. One of the few places. South Carolina still grows some rice in the PD region. And Arkansas grows in the southern part some rice. And so they're famous for a duck gumbo with rice because ducks are plentiful in Arkansas. There are a lot of ducks for the taking, for the harvesting. And they do a really interesting duck and rice gumbo there. Like Mississippi, they have Delta tamales. Those tamales, again, were brought by Mexican immigrants in the 1920s that came to pick cotton in Mississippi and in southern Arkansas. Queso dip, cheese dip, was actually invented in a restaurant in North Little Rock. They also have a thing called possum pie. Has nothing to do with possum. It's made with pecan shortbread, cream cheese, chocolate pudding, and whipped cream with chopped pecans on top. Possum pie, very famous in Arkansas. They produce a soft drink called Grape-Ette, Grape-Ette soda, and they also produce the famous Mountain Valley water brand around the Hot Springs area. But really what stands out in Arkansas is catfish. A lot of catfish ponds, especially in the southern part of Arkansas, and they consume a significant amount of catfish in that state. There's some native catfish that you can catch in the rivers and the streams, but again, most of the catfish today comes from farming. They're famous for catfish stews, broiled catfish, but mostly what? Deep fried or pan fried catfish. Let me tell you how important catfish is in Arkansas. Several years ago, our agency took some BP oil spill money. Remember the BP oil spill money in the Gulf? And we bought a sponsorship for Gulf Shores and Orange Beach using that money to become a sponsor of the Southeastern Conference, athletic conference. And we created a campaign called Gulf Shores Orange Beach, where SEC families come to play. And we did a series of television commercials using former football coaches as grandfathers. And so they were inviting their grandchildren to come. And there were a lot of really fun ones. But one of them we did was called Alabama Gulf Seafood. And so I had a bunch of coaches sitting around the table. I had Pat Dye from Auburn. I had Gene Stallings from Alabama, Jerry Stovall from LSU, Philip Fulmer from Tennessee, and the great Arkansas coach and athletic director, legendary coach and athletic director, Frank Brawls. And so we put them in their school colors. And so the commercial was, we'd go around the table and Coach Dye would say, I'll have the blue crabs. And then Philip Fulmer would say, I'll have the orange roughy. And Jerry Stovall would say, I'll have the yellowfin tuna. And then it came to Coach Brawls, and he was supposed to say, I'll have the red snapper. He talked like that, snapper. And then finally, Coach Stallings said, surely with all this great Gulf seafood, you got something in crimson. So we rehearsed it and rehearsed it and rehearsed it. Now we go live. I'll have the blue crabs. I'll have the orange roughy. I'll have the yellowfin tuna. It came to Coach Brawls, and he goes, I'll have the fried catfish. I said, Coach, you're supposed to say red snapper. He said, I know, Rick, but I wanted the catfish. I said, Coach, we'll get you the catfish. Just read your lines. Coach Brawls was a Decatur, Georgia boy, played for Coach Bobby Dodd at Georgia Tech, and then came to Arkansas as a young head coach and never left the state. Became a legendary figure. He also was a TV commentator, a very famous person from Arkansas. But catfish was important enough to him that he wanted the fried catfish down at Gulf Shores and Orange Beach. You can find great catfish literally all over the state, but we found a great place to showcase this delicacy. There's a restaurant in Des Arcs, Arkansas. Des Arcs is a French word meaning bend in the river. And on this bend in the river is this restaurant called Dondie's. And Dondie's was designed, the restaurant building, to look like a riverboat. It's like a paddle wheel riverboat, so it sits up on this bluff. Now the Des Arcs River, for decades had lots of those paddle wheelers that traveled up and down. And so historically it's accurate, and it sits up there, and it's just a really, really neat place. Des Arcs only has 1,900 people in the town, but this place is covered up because it's only open on Thursday, Fridays, and Saturday nights. And it's a seafood buffet that's got, shrimp and hush puppies and salad bar and all kinds of stuff. But what you really come for are the fried catfish. It's really a unique dining experience because you get this beautiful, sight of the White River. It's the White River, and Des Arcs means the bend in the White River. But recently they had a fire, and we were fortunate enough to be able to go there and film right after they had reopened. After they had come back from the fire, it reopened back in May. We had a great day there. The original owner, the guy who built the place, was a guy named Dondie Guess, and he and his wife, when you go to our vignette, you'll be able to see my interview with both of them. They were in the car business, mostly in the car financing business. And he had grown up in this town and loved this piece of land. This piece of land sits on a bluff over the White River, and it was a junkyard. And he didn't think the guy would sell it to him, so he used an attorney, a third party, to buy it, and then bought it from the attorney in order to keep the price down. And then he went to a friend and said, I don't know what the restaurant should look like. And the friend drew this wonderful drawing of a riverboat, and that's how it became. The current owners, the Scott family, Roger Scott is the mayor of Des Arcs. His wife, Belinda, works. They had worked in the food business for years and had retired. And their son, Ben, and Ben's wife, Courtney, when it came available, Ben had always wanted to own the restaurant. He always felt like it'd be good. And part of it is they're only open 3 nights a week, so you can have another job. You can have a full-time job and then do this as a part-time, and that's what they do. Great family, great people. It was just fun to be with the team that evening as they prepared for the buffet. But the star of the show, like I said, is the fried catfish, pond-raised in both Arkansas and Mississippi. It's battered in kind of a secret batter with cornmeal, spices, and more. And then it's fried in vegetable oil, but it comes out crunchy on the outside, but still moist and juicy on the inside. These are the best I've ever had. My granddaddy loved catfish. It was probably his favorite dish. He liked to catch catfish and cook them and fry them up. There was a restaurant in Atlanta called the Rio Vista that was famous for their catfish, and he loved to go there. But I have to tell my granddaddy, these are the best I've ever had. These were unbelievable. I mean, I ate a platter of, they kept bringing me all these sides, and I was like, no, I can eat sides other places. I want to eat the catfish. And the catfish were amazing. Dondie's on the White River, Des Arcs, Arkansas. So where else should you eat in Arkansas? Here are my 3 from me suggestions. One of the great places in all of Arkansas is a place called Hot Springs. Hot Springs is just that, hot springs. And they were famous The Native Americans would bathe there. One of the early resort areas in America because of the hot springs. It's now a national park. They have these historic bathhouses that have been restored where people would come and take the baths to help their health and all this kind of stuff. Hot Springs is really a cool town. It actually was the birth home of Bill Clinton. He was raised later in a place called Hope, Arkansas, but he was born in Hot Springs. Well, one of the great breakfast restaurants in America is in Hot Springs. It's called the Pancake Shop. Opened in 1940. It's right across from the bathhouses. They're famous, obviously, called the Pancake Shop for their pancakes. You can get buckwheat pancakes, buttermilk pancakes, every kind of, chocolate pancakes, banana pancake, whatever. You want the blueberry, trust me. Fresh blueberries, unbelievable blueberry pancakes. But what they also have are these sugar-cured ham steaks. And I'm talking big ham steaks that are tender and juicy and cured just right. Again, not country cured, sugar cured. And they are really, really, really good. They also do something that I think is the best for breakfast. They have fresh squeezed orange juice. You gotta love that, where you see the machine where they're squeezing the orange juice. Really, really good. Again, it's the Pancake Shop in Hot Springs. Barbecue's big in Arkansas like it is in so many other places around the country. And another place in Hot Springs is a place called McClard's. They opened in 1928 and have been in the same building since 1942. What do you want there? Great ribs, spare ribs, great spare ribs. And then they have these things called loaded fries, French fries covered in chopped beef, barbecue sauce, cheese, and jalapenos. Really, really good. And they also make those wonderful Delta-style tamales. It's McClard's in Hot Springs. And okay, if you come to Arkansas, you got to eat fried chicken. And my favorite is at the AQ Chicken House in Springdale. It opened in 1947. They're known for their barbecue chicken that's cooked on coals and their pan-fried chicken. They have great rolls and fried pickles. The first time I went to Walmart, I called on Walmart in 1993. And it was hard to get to Bentonville then. This is before that airport opened in northwest Arkansas. And so you had to fly into Little Rock and drive to Bentonville. I stopped off at the AQ and ate chicken. Let me tell you, folks, it's still just as good. The AQ Chicken House in Springdale, Arkansas. So that's my 3 from me. So I want to thank you for joining us. We've got 25 states down and now 25 more to go. We'll see you back here next week as we start the backside with state number 26, Michigan, on United Taste of America.